This book came to fruition in the spring and summer of 2020. One of us, Tama, had developed a presentation on moving from cultural competence to anti-racism earlier that year, and was asked to consider diving deeper into the topic by writing a workbook that would expand and explore the ways in which people could approach anti-racism consistently and authentically in their work, for those in the mental health arena, or in their lives more broadly. Tama reached out to her friend and colleague, Edith, to see if she would be interested in writing the workbook together, given Edith's work exploring race, racial identity, and racism in K-12 schools, communities, and nonprofit organizations. Under ordinary circumstances, as Black women psychologists, we would have been thrilled to work and write together on a topic that has been meaningful to us throughout our lives, from childhood through our professional careers. But the spring and summer of 2020 were certainly not ordinary, and the commitment to writing this workbook became even more important to us as a way to contribute to the necessary work being done to address our nation's long overdue racial reckoning. Breonna Taylor was shot 8 times while sleeping in her home in Louisville, Kentucky. Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed while out jogging in suburban Atlanta. George Floyd's life was taken from him over the extended length of time that a police officer lodged his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. In all of those instances, and in too many others, we were reminded of how precarious Black lives are in our society. Additionally, in the months prior to George Floyd's murder, we were witness to a growing number of people dying from a global pandemic that was disproportionately impacting Black people, Indigenous people, and people of color, BIPOC. By late May 2020, the number of deaths from COVID-19 totaled 100,000, and deaths continued to rise through the summer to cross the 200,000 mark. The reality of the lives we lost was the backdrop to what seemed to be a never-ending loop of news stories and videos of Black lives being taken through state-sanctioned violence. The protests that arose over Memorial Day weekend that year were somehow different from protests in the past. It may have been that protests were taking place simultaneously across the country, from urban centers to the suburbs to rural areas. It might also have been seeing the diverse races, genders, and ages of the people that joined the Black community to proclaim that Black lives matter. Whatever it was that felt different, it was striking to see such a broad acknowledgement that all was not well, and that systemic racism is itself a long-standing pandemic that shaped the reality and lives not only of BIPOC, but white people as well.